Hey there, gang. In this video, we're going to talk about another form that you'll often see linear equations written in, and we call this standard form. Standard form looks like this: ax plus by equals c. So you'll notice the difference here is that x and y are on the same side of the equation, as opposed to slope-intercept form, which had y by itself on the left side. So whenever you see an equation in standard form and you're asked to graph that equation, you'll do that by converting the equation to slope-intercept form. And so that's what we're going to practice here on these first few examples. It involves two basic steps. Step one is to either add or subtract the x term, so I'm going to call that ax, to move it to the other side. And then step two will be to divide all terms by b, and that will get y by itself. So let's practice that now with a few examples. We're converting each of these equations to slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept form is the form that we have been practicing previously, y equals mx plus b. So number one, we have x plus y equals -2. So step one is to add or subtract ax from both sides. And so in this case, ax would just be the 1x. We get rid of a positive 1x by subtracting 1x. So I'm going to subtract 1x, or just x, from the left side and from the right side. When I do that on the left side, I just am left with my y term. So I have y equals, and on the right side now, we're going to put this in mx plus b form. So put the x term first. This is -x minus 2. Step two says to divide all terms by b. Well, in this case, b is +1, so I don't need to do step two. Y is already by itself, so this is my answer. Y equals -x minus 2. All right, number two, 5x plus 6y equals 12. This time, my ax term is 5x, and so I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides, here and here. So on the left side, I'm left with positive 6y. On the right side, I have -5x plus 12. Again, be sure you put the x term first and then the b value. From there, I'm going to divide all of my terms by the 6. Okay, that's that capital B value. So I'm going to divide here, here, and here, all three terms. What that's going to do is cancel out the 6 on the left side, so we're just left with y. And now on the right side, I'm going to take -5x over 6, and that's going to become just -5/6 x. 12 divided by 6 is 2, so I'm going to reduce that and just say it's +2. And so now I have my equation in slope-intercept form. If we were to graph this, our m value, or our slope, would be -5/6, and our y-intercept, or our little b value, would be 2. Number three, 3x minus 5y equals 5. Again, I need to move my ax term to the other side, so I'll do that by subtracting here, -3x minus 3x. That leaves me with -5y equals -3x plus 5, and then I'm going to divide everything by -5. Be careful with your signs here, since we're dividing by a negative. We get y equals -3 divided by -5 will give us the fraction +3/5. So y equals 3/5 x, and then +5 divided by -5 is a -1. Number four, x minus 2y equals 16. I'll subtract x from both sides. That gives me -2y equals -x plus 16. And then I'm going to divide everything by -2. So I get y equals, be careful here with the x term. It's a common mistake to write 2x This is a 1x divided by negative 2, so this is going to become 1/2 x. Okay, 1/2 x there, and then 16 divided by negative 2 is minus 8. All right, so now we're going to apply this skill to some actual graphing problems. So for the rest of these examples, we're going to do what we just did, convert each of the equations to slope-intercept form, but then we're going to graph the equation from there. So on number 5, I have 3x plus y equals 5. The first step is to subtract 3x from both sides. That gives me y equals negative 3x plus 5. Y is already isolated, so I don't need to divide by anything. So now I can just identify my slope and my y-intercept. So my slope here is negative 3, or negative 3 over 1 for graphing it. And my y-intercept, my b value, is 0, 5. So the graph of this is going to start at 0, 5. And then it's a negative slope, so I can go up 3 and left 1, or I can go down 3 and right 1. Just have to make sure that my line is decreasing. And so my line will look like this. And there you have it. Let's practice that a few more times on the back side. Number 6, 5x plus 2y equals 6. We'll subtract 5x from both sides first. That gives us 2y equals negative 5x plus 6. And then divide all of the terms by 2. That gives us y equals negative 5/2 x plus 3. So now I have a slope of negative 5/2 and a y-intercept of 0, 3. So I plot the y-intercept, 0, 3, and then the slope is negative 5/2. I can go up 5 and left 2, or I can go down 5 and right 2. And there's my line. Number 7, x plus 2y equals negative 6. I'll subtract x from both sides first. That leaves me with 2y equals negative x minus 6, and then divide everything by positive 2. Again, when you're dividing by 2 and you only have an x or a negative x, remember that's a 1/2. In this case, it's a negative 1/2 x, and then negative 6 divided by 2 is minus 3. So our slope is negative 1 over 2, and then the y-intercept here is 0, negative 3. So we need to start below the x-axis down here at 0, negative 3. The slope is negative 1 over 2, so I can go up 1 and left 2, or down 1 and right 2. All right, a couple more examples. Number 8, negative 8x equals minus 12y equals 0. This time notice that the x term is negative. So in all the other problems I've been subtracting ax from both sides. Well, this time I need to add 8x to both sides because that's the opposite of having a minus 8x. So I'm going to do that on the left and on the right. On the left I have negative 12y, and then on the right side equals 8x plus 0, or just 8x. So now I'm going to divide both sides by that negative 12. So I get y equals 8 over negative 12 will reduce to the fraction negative 2/3. So this is y equals negative 2/3 x. Don't forget how to graph equations like this. This is in slope-intercept form. The slope is negative 2/3. And since we don't have anything being added or subtracted from the x, we'll just say that the y-intercept is 0, 0. So that means that I'm going to start at the origin, and then from there I can go up 2 and left 3, or I can go down 2 and right 3. All right, final example number 9, x minus 4y equals negative 4. I'll subtract x from both sides first. That gives me negative 4y equals negative x minus 4, and then divide everything by negative 4. So I get y equals, this will be a positive 1/4 x, and then plus 1. So the slope, we have a positive slope this time, 1/4, and the y-intercept is 0, 1. So I'm starting at 0, 1, and from here I'm going up 1 and right 4, up 1 and right 4. I could also go down 1 and left 4. And so this line will be increasing and look like this. If you have any questions over this video, make sure you are preparing those for the next time. Until then, have a nice day. You are all wonderful people.